Welcome to SUAANGAN. I'm your host, Janine Blake. We're here in the Northwest Territories Legislative Assembly to bring you a profile of the Honourable Vince Steen, MLA for Nunakput, for the SUAANGAN series, Our People, Our Support. Vince Steen was born in Aklavik, Northwest Territories in 1941 and was raised in the area of Tuktoyaktuk and Pawlatuck. He was elected to the 13th Legislative Assembly on October 16, 1995 and re-elected on December 6, 1999. He was then elected to Cabinet on March 29, 1999, and again in January of 2000. He was appointed Minister of Public Works and Services, Minister of Transportation, and Minister responsible for seniors. During a recent Cabinet shuffle, he was made Minister of Municipal Community Affairs and Public Works and Services.
I was born in Aklavik, 1941, and we were raised a little bit east of Pawlatuck, about 25 miles east of Pawlatuck, as kids. And then when I was 7 years old, I went to Aklavik residential school for 7 years. 7 years straight. I didn't go home in the summer. 7 years straight. I went back to Brock River where my parents were living in 1954. And after a while, a couple of years of trapping, I went to work for Douline. I went to school in Aklavik. I was in school there. Up to grade 9 was the highest grade they could give. My parents, my dad was Paul Steen. He was originally from Texas. He came in on one of the whaling ships when he was about 14, 15 years old. Got shipwrecked a couple of times in Alaska. Ice. And the second time he started trapping in Alaska and up to Herschel Island. And I met my mom somewhere east of here, a place called Inman River. That's where my mom was living with my grandparents. My grandmother on my mom's side was Nuvialuit from around Herschel Island area. And my grandfather was Russian. Come from Russia somewhere, Siberia. Originally my dad's parents were from Dutch, old country, I guess. My mom is Nuvialuit half anyway. Her name used to be Bessie Jacobson. Well, initially, any kind of job in those days was good because the fur was right down to nothing. In 1955, 56, there was no more money for fur. So any kind of a job was good. So I went to work as a laborer, started off as a laborer, ended up heavy equipment operator. Again, the Douline's lifestyle was kind of lonely, you know, there wasn't that many people on the site where we were, maybe 8 or 10 people. And it was mostly pretty monotonous from morning till night, and long evenings, things like that. But it was good in the sense that it gave us self-sufficiency, you know. There wasn't a lot of welfare those days anyway. Most people had to work to make a living. There wasn't much government handouts except if you were sick or if you were disabled. So the DULAN came at a good opportune time, you know. A lot of people took advantage of it, and we did. I did. I spent most of my younger days as an equipment operator on DULAN. From there I went to work in highway construction for Hay River, airports, highways around Yellowknife, Dempster Highway, wherever there was heavy equipment operator work. I did came back to this country in about 1970, this area, Duck area. Started trapping with my uncle Jimmy Jacobson and trapping the bush, working on the ships in the summer, NTCL, Hudson Bay. Till eventually I built up my sea time enough to get my captain's papers. And when the oil and gas companies moved in here in the 70s, I set up a crew boat service, also supply some seismic service to the oil companies, offshore seismic. And I ran my own crew boat. I was in some politics on and off like most people were. Hunters and Trappers Associations, Hamlet Councils, when they started up. I was a mayor here for a couple of terms, especially when the oil companies were going full boom there. Here, there was a lot of pressure on the community to protect itself from the boom, so to speak. And we were quite active and quite successful in getting funding for the community roads, community infrastructure. But otherwise, the oil and gas companies would have walked right all over this community. So we sort of got experience in the political world through the oil and gas booms on the community. The impact on the community was quite heavy. And a lot of people cut their teeth on, political teeth on dealing with the oil and gas industry. Days of the Berger, things like that.
We'll return after these messages with the profile of the Honorable Vince Steen. We're back with our profile of Vince Steen. What made him decide to run in the election for MLA in 1995?
I like working with people. I like helping them if they need help. But I also try to send a message out to them that I'm more available to help them rather than do it for them. I would prefer to work with them rather than for them. And I think it's working out fairly good. Communities are quite successful in solving their own problems. I don't think that it's a wise move for any politician to try and solve the problems for the people, because eventually you'd be gone and then the problem would be still there. So it's a lot, I think a better approach is to work with them to solve the problem. Cut the red tape if I could, you know, help them to access the top politicians if need be, or the top bureaucrats if need be, rather than doing it for them. And I find that they're quite happy when they manage to obtain what they want in that manner rather than having me do it for them. I think it worked out quite good. I do have a tendency, probably because of my upbringing, I'm not as, I'm a bit bashful, you know, when dealing with people, but I think people accept that. You could be the other way around too and not be successful either, you know. So I don't mind. I mean, I'm not one of these politicians that likes to be in the forefront all the time and in the news. I prefer to just do the job, and as long as the constituents are happy. I do have sometimes I feel I have a drawback in that there wasn't any grades higher than 9 when I was in school, so I had to spend a couple of years in NATE, upgrading myself and obtaining a journeyman's tickets, mechanic and heavy equipment operator. So I did upgrade my English in that manner. But most of it is self-taught, most of it, my reading, most is self-educated. Even trying to do a job in a 4-year term is probably not possible for you to do your full, make the changes you want, make the improvements to the system you want. And I think if your constituents are understanding and knowledgeable about what it's like to be a politician, they will give you another try. You know, they'll put you back in there to complete the job because you're really helping them rather than helping yourself. You're helping them as well. Putting a new person in there after one term would be just like starting all over again, and you don't really accomplish very much. The evidence is there if you look at the long-term politicians. What they managed to accomplish for their riding is because they were there a long time.
What part of being a cabinet minister do you enjoy the most?
Being home. Right now, when I was just an ordinary member, I had opportunity to spend at least half of my time at home, so it wasn't so bad. But now as a minister, I don't have that much opportunity to be at home anymore, so I'm really happy when I'm at home. But I guess my favorite, my most, how would I voice it, express it as more of a sense of accomplishment is when I happen to cut red tape for people and they're happy, you know, they're really appreciative. And it really, I feel good about it when I see them, they're happy. So I think that's probably my favorite times as an MLA is when I managed to cut some red tape and help them to deal with the bureaucrats. Successfully, yeah. That's sense of accomplishment.
He's approachable, and with all the concerns that come through this office, he looks at them thoroughly and sees how he could assist the people that have concerns. And he's a hard worker. I think he's a really good person for the job.
I don't know what my favorite part of being cabinet minister. I suppose it's, to some degree, it's answering questions in the House successfully. I think that's my favorite part, because it's a challenge. A lot of that is just to see how well you understand your portfolio, how well you're doing your job, in other words. If you understand your portfolio and understand your departments, it's not all that hard to answer the questions in the House. So, but I enjoy it. I enjoy that part. I enjoy dealing with the other cabinet ministers as well, listening to the concerns we have in cabinet, trying to resolve the problems for the territory, which is really a big issue, big job.
We'll return after these messages with more of the profile on the Honourable Vince Steen. We're back with our profile of Vince Steen. We asked him why he got involved in politics.
Interestingly enough, at the time that Nellie decided not to run again, I was working as a highway foreman in Wrigley, with no thought of ever being a politician or an MLA. But when she resigned, and just not really resigned, but when her term ran out and she decided not to run again, it left the door wide open. At the same time, I was trying to think of a way to get back into working in this area again, because I wasn't all that happy over in Wrigley as a highway foreman. My wife and family were here. My wife was teaching here on a full-time basis. So the opportunity came to move back through MLA position. And I did talk to a few local people about whether or not that I had a potential to get elected. And like any election, it's a challenge, really. You know, it's a question. You have to try it in order to find out. So I decided I had nothing much to lose. You know, so I took leave and came here, started doing a little bit of campaigning. Next thing I knew, I was an MLA. The second term wasn't quite as much of a question. It was, like I said, it was more a job that needed to be completed rather than a new challenge. As a cabinet minister, I have more opportunity to control my own time away from home, so to speak. My wife still teaches here, my kids still going to school here, but they're growing up too. And it's not so much just being away from home anymore. It's a sense of trying to complete a job now. But I enjoy it. It's a little time I'm at home. I enjoy it. It's so I don't know, so comforting to be able to use your hands, your do manual labor, you know, even cut wood, things like that, fix skidoos, well, actually, I'm a Mr. Fix-It, you know. Every time I come home, there's things to fix, every time, so I enjoy that. To me, it's relaxing. It relieves all the stress that might build up on me through politics. It's really relaxing. I don't have the opportunity to do this in Yellowknife because I don't really have a home in Yellowknife. I have an apartment. Somebody else fixes everything. So here I get to fix things. I like that. In the winter time, I can go skidooing, hunting. Summertime, my boat. I don't have that in Yellowknife. So I don't have the ability to really relax in Yellowknife. Well, I would encourage them if they feel politically inclined, you know, to help resolve the community problems. I would encourage them to take part, you know, speak their mind, but as long as they're cautious enough to do their footwork before they open their mouth, and then speak what they find, and try and influence the decision makers until they become the decision makers themselves. So take part in the community activities, take part in the meetings. I would encourage that. I think it's good for them, it's good for their mind. They're not going to always win, there are going to be many, many times when they lose. But that's politics. That's the democratic way. You don't win all of them. But as long as you win the major ones, it's good. If you lose an election, make sure it's a small one.
Thank you so much for talking to us.